It's fair to say that recruiting is currently going through a period of rapid change that feels pretty chaotic right now. But if we take a step back, there are some clear patterns emerging that tell us a lot about the future. From disruption in frontline hiring to the way candidates are using AI, we're getting real clues about what the imminent era of agentic AI might actually look like. Keep listening to find out more. You know, I've recently heard some crazy success stories when it comes to hiring with AI. FedEx is sending offers to candidates within 10 minutes. General Motors saved $2 million in recruiting costs in a year. Chipotle reduced time to hire by 75%. And Nestlé's global recruiting team is saving 8,000 hours annually. The craziest thing, all of these companies did it by leveraging the same technology, Paradox. Paradox is the leader in conversational hiring. Powered by conversational AI, Paradox can be your ATS, CRM, and career site, or can help automate parts of the hiring process on top of Workday, UKG, and SAP. Their product suite is driven by a 24/7 AI assistant who can handle up to 95% of the hiring process for deskless hiring teams, or just automate specific, time-consuming tasks like screening, interview scheduling, and onboarding to allow recruiters to focus on recruiting. Paradox has helped hundreds of the world's top employers simplify hiring and save money while creating great candidate experiences in the process. Spend more time with people, not software, with Paradox. You can find out more by going to paradox.ai.
There's been more of scientific discovery, more of technical advancement and material progress in your lifetime and mine than in all the ages of history.
Hi there, welcome to episode 754 of Recruiting Future with me, Matt Alder. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the current pace of change in talent acquisition. AI developments, vendor mergers and acquisitions, a confusing technology landscape, and shifting candidate behaviour are just some of the current trends making everything feel chaotic. But if we take a step back and look carefully, patterns start to emerge. There are lots of clues out there that are telling us what the future might just look like. So, how do we make sense of it all? My guest this week is Adam Godson, General Manager of Paradox at Workday. In our conversation, Adam cuts through the noise, explains how the agentic future is taking shape, discusses what the Workday acquisition of Paradox means for the market, reviews the predictions he made on the show this time last year about 2025, and shares where he thinks things are heading in 2026. Hi, Adam, and welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, Matt. Great to be with you.
Always a pleasure to talk to you. For people who may not know who you are, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Thanks, Matt. I'm Adam Godson. I am now General Manager of Paradox at Workday. I'm a lifelong talent acquisition practitioner. I started my career as a recruiter 20 years ago. I've been building talent acquisition technology and process ever since. And I'm an absolute nerd for the space. And I spent the last 6 years as CEO at Paradox, the last 2 of those as CEO, and then joined Workday just last month.
Fantastic. So we'll talk about the Workday acquisition sort of later in the conversation, because obviously it's been a very big year for Paradox in lots of ways. Before we do, though, I want to go back to last December. So last December, we had a podcast conversation, and you very generously said that you made some predictions for 2025 and very generously said I could come back a year later and we could see how accurate you were. So
let's go.
I brought those predictions along. So these were the 3 things that you kind of sort of highlighted for this year. So the first one was companies will choose to get started with AI and start in a spot that is a significant pain to them. The second one, you predicted a year of chaos with job seekers using AI to write resumes, employers struggling to find signal. Maybe we'll have more assessments, more in-person interviews to get around that. And then finally, again, fairly chaotic, but companies will start to develop a vision about what TA might look like in the AI-driven future. How did you do? How do you think the years sort of measured up to where you thought it would be?
Wow, not to give myself congratulations, but I feel pretty good about all of those. And in terms of what the year wrought, I think the second one, I think resonated particularly well. We hear from talent acquisition practitioners regularly that it's been chaotic and that there's candidate fraud and there's identity challenges. There's mass applications and they're having a hard time with the processing of increased volumes and of course with constrained resources, and that they're having a difficult time with that. So I feel good about that. The first one as well, companies getting started with AI. I think we see almost everyone dipping their toe in the water to some degree, whether that's with interview scheduling, whether that is with screening, whether it's some other part of the process. But I think almost everyone is leaning into some degree as we see our client budgets decrease and the work volumes increase. There's only one real way out of that. So I think I feel pretty good about those predictions.
Yeah, no, I think I think it kind of sums up the year very well. One thing we didn't talk about was perhaps happened to Paradox this year, and as you say, you've been acquired by Workday. Let's talk about that a little bit. Why Paradox? Why did Workday acquire Paradox? And really, where does Paradox go from here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I wouldn't have been able to predict it last year because such things are pretty unpredictable. And so people, of course, have asked over the years, what's going to happen there. And my response has always been consistent, which is my job is to build a great company and the rest will take care of itself. And we'll figure out what the best strategy is from there. And frankly, really proud of the fact that I think we did that. We built Paradox into a great company as one of the leaders in AI and talent acquisition and being able to do things the right way. And we're able to join Workday this year. In terms of strategy for Workday and Paradox coming together, I think there's really a couple of strategies that are important to talk about. One of those is Paradox finding great fit with the technology and the frontline worker, and really finding strength there with the right technology at the right time. And taking the friction out of the process, being able to walk into a restaurant. I had a meeting a few weeks ago at a restaurant with a client, and I saw a guy wiping tables, and I couldn't resist asking him. I was like, "Hey, how did you come to work here?" His name was also Adam. And he said, well, last week I was going to the drive-thru because I was hungry, and I saw on the receipt, now hiring, text to 12345, this number, and it asked me a couple of questions. Are you 16? Can you work these hours? Are you eligible to work? Those kinds of things. Can you lift this box? Those kind of things, like the qualifications, and scheduled the interview for the next day, and he started the day after that. And then he was wiping tables. And so it's the right technology for the right time, not having the clunky applications. What's your login? Create an account, those types of things. So I think the increasing focus for Workday on the frontline worker and seeing Paradox as a company that had expertise in that space and had the right technology to solve that challenge. I think the other thing that's really important is the ability to work beyond the Workday ecosystem. At Workday has had a changing philosophy. And so I think in some of the past acquisitions at Workday, it has been, how do we make Workday better for Workday clients? And this is different in that we're going to continue to serve the entire market. So whether it's clients that are native on any other system as their HCM, other applicant tracking systems, continuing to supplement those with functionality, continuing with our own conversational ATS to serve frontline workers, especially in the franchise, restaurant, retail space. And so being able to serve the whole market, I think for me and the core group at Paradox, many are ex-practitioners, and we want to solve the whole challenge. We want to make a dent in the universe and to really change how people get jobs. And when we see the results of some of our clients, time to hire going from 21 days to 3 days, and time to schedule an interview from 5 days to 3 minutes, those kinds of things that we see that have made a difference, it just makes us want to do more of that. And I think that's one of the great opportunities here is to scale that to make a dent in the universe.
And I suppose as we kind of move towards the agentic AI age, in terms of whatever that might look like, from a kind of a Workday customer perspective, having really kind of end-to-end data across the employee lifecycle has got to be a big advantage from that kind of data feeding AI angle?
Oh, it's massive. It's massive, right? Like I think even in the past when we talked about systems, customers had sort of a choice. They had to choose this connected system to the rest of their HCM that was probably not up to par feature wise, but was connected to the rest of the data set, which had its advantage. Or they had to choose a best of breed system that had more features but was not connected into the HCM system, had to have integrations maintained forever to do that. And I think this is the first chapter in being able to break loose of that tension and to have a third way, which is this deeply connected data system and the workflow running in software, but the work happening in agents. And those agents being able to connect deeply to, yes, of course, the core system at Workday, but also into systems that others might have in that. And so being able to have the agents do much of that work, but having to your point, the data be connected all the way through to see not only did someone get hired, but did they do well? and what can we get them hired for their next job? What skills do they have and what experience do they have that can help them with internal mobility? And can we measure not just the most immediate outcome, but the next and the next outcome to really get a signal on whether we're effective as a talent acquisition team?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be sort of fascinating for the industry as a whole, and really kind of revolutionary as well. Let's just dig a little bit deeper into frontline hiring, because I think almost every industry event I've been to this year, everyone is talking about frontline hiring, and obviously it's something that Paradox has been in that space since the beginning, really. How has it developed this year? What are the sort of challenges that your clients have been seeing? How are they? What is there anything different about how they're working and solving them?
Yeah, I think a few things that are really different that we're seeing is more distributed responsibilities. And so the hiring manager being empowered to run much of the process alongside of AI agents. And so we're seeing much more activity in the field where it's not a recruiter. And we've known this for a long time. I think the early days for us in a quick service restaurant, there's no recruiter in a quick service restaurant. The manager's the recruiter. And so for us, it was how do we make Olivia or the persona the client chooses as that recruiter to help with those tasks. So can you screen this candidate for me? Can you help me schedule this interview? Can you guide them through their onboarding tasks and being able to do those things all the way through with AI assistance? And the key is and has always been messaging, getting them in the device that we all have with us all the time, and being able to ensure that that's the access portal. And we see that in all of our data is when we're able to message someone, we get really fast responses. And when we aren't able to message them, we get really slow responses. And I think the other thing is just, I even forget sometimes again and again that speed is is candidate experience in the front line. And when you hire people in real time, and when your team has confidence that you can hire in real time, so many other things take care of themselves. I was having a good conversation with a client that just this last week, and yes, they reduced their time to hire. Their goal was to go from 60 days to 30 days, and it's at 6. And so they just dramatically reduced that, and they're proud of that. But what they're really, really proud of was that they had fewer applicants, in that it used to take 100 applicants to get a hire. Now it took 17. Because they're moving faster, fewer people are falling out along the way. And for a retail brand, to have fewer applicants is fewer people that they disappointed and people that they got through the process faster, and just higher satisfaction for every person in that process, both the person that got hired and the 87 that didn't.
Just in terms of AI itself, it's been another interesting year. We've seen ChatGPT-5. We've just seen Google steam in and overtake that with some of its newer models. What do you think have been the most sort of significant developments in AI itself this year that will have sort of implications for talent acquisition?
Yeah, absolutely. I think certainly the ability for AI coding has gone really, really mainstream, and being sure that individual sort of citizen developers can start to make apps and solve problems on their own, and not just things that are going to be commercialized, but little tools that they can use for problems they have in their own job, even like making great spreadsheets that they need to do, advanced models that help them solve a business problem. I think that's been just a leaps and bounds type of thing this year. We did some good work this year as well on AI generated images, with the context being for giving folks a realistic job preview. And being able to have an AI generated video to give folks a better chance at the job. There's just always been a scalability problem. You had to have this video crew come out and do this to sort of show someone what the job is like. And for a lot of jobs, especially in the front line, you want to communicate that this is hot. It's hard work. Things are heavy. Like, this is hard work, and you want to communicate that on before they take the job, so they don't find out on day one and say, "Oh, I'm out." You want to tell them that on day negative something, so that they know when they come in with good expectations, and that they can understand what the job is about. And so that's certainly been interesting, to have something that was previously unscalable to become more scalable. And as you think about what we talked about last year, which is the matching problem. God, 15 years ago, when I tried to solve some of the early matching things, originally I thought, man, candidates are really bad at writing resumes. There's not enough information here. And what I quickly discovered, that it's actually companies that are really bad at writing descriptions of jobs, and there's not much information there. And then the depth of information through video and voice and other mediums are going to go a long way to improving that match, and hopefully, achieving the goal of having the right person in the right job.
Let's just talk about the candidate side for a second, because I kind of find this quite fascinating. As we say, we've got, candidates using AI, flooding, they're using tools that are kind of flooding applications in and all that sort of stuff. And I kind of just get the impression that for, TA tech, we kind of sort of look at those tools as, kind of cheating or a bit sketchy, or, just like kind of flash in the pan. But to me, I can really see that some of these tools could develop into kind of full-blown career agents for candidates, which would be quite interesting. What's your sort of take on the technology that's available to candidates moving forward?
Yeah, well, now, Matt, you're going to get me to go down a really deep rabbit hole of nerdness. So I'll if you all want to fast forward this for a hot minute, I won't judge you, but I think you're right. I think that's ultimately where it moves, is just like people will move from sort of web page hunting based answers to any question. There's an agentic side to the job application that will happen, and candidates will use it because it will simply be a better experience. What has to happen is infrastructure for companies to do a good job of accepting those applications in their systems, and being sure that that's seen as a valid and thoughtful way to apply. I think the top thing that will matter here is finding a way to generate an artificial constraint on the number of jobs that a person could apply to, for example. So the constraint today is human energy, right? is I could have probably muscle my way through, 10 to 30 job applications a day until I'm tired of creating an account on every website or whatever I have to do. But there's some constraint there. With AI, there would be no constraint. And so you could conceivably apply to every job in the universe that's open at every day. And so whether that's a token system, and some people have suggested people should pay a nominal amount of money to apply for a job. I don't think that's the right idea, but I understand like the concept of introducing some constraints so you can't apply to every job at every moment. So I think it's really just developing some architecture as an industry in those systems of how we make agentic apply work for both the candidate and for the company. And I actually think it produces a better result. You can use, for example, a technique called a zero knowledge proof to do something, to get information, but not share it with either side. So one of the trickiest things is salary information. The candidate has an amount they're willing to work for, but doesn't want to say what it is exactly. The job has an amount they want to pay, but they don't want to say what it is exactly. And we have this sort of moving target. Well, by using a distributed network with a zero knowledge proof, you're able to share information and simply have signal that is indirect that can go back to each side that says, yes, there's a match here. I won't tell you exactly what it is, but there's a match and we can actually make this work go forward. Or no, there's no overlap here. This doesn't work. Or potentially some conditionality like, oh, yes, they do this, but only if the job was that, or it was a relocation or something. And so there's agents have more ability to do those types of things than humans do. And so there's a real chance, I think, that an agentic structure improves the quality of applicants. It certainly can improve the quantity, but the quality is what's going to matter to making that happen. So that's my long answer to your short question, Matt.
Yeah, no, it's a great answer. And I'm not going to dive into the rabbit hole where I tell you about my theory that should we get quantum computing, then every single candidate can apply for every single job in the world instantly.
No, I actually like that. This is a good episode. I want to be on next year's episode now. This next December, we'll make it a
yeah. That's definitely a conversation for another time. Coming back to the present, as it were, I mean, it's one of the things that struck me about this year is the tech vendor market. It's just now so confusing for TA leaders. There aren't distinct categories that there were. Yeah. There's just so much going on. There are people selling solutions that don't actually kind of exist. There are great companies selling great solutions that TA leaders are not kind of assessing properly. What would your advice be to the TA leaders listening about their strategy moving forward and how they choose the technology to support it?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I'll say, having been around a while, like, it's always been pretty chaotic in the industry. It's one that gets an outsized level of investment because it's sort of an obvious business problem where many companies have trouble hiring, and so many people are familiar with the challenge, and so companies start because it's a problem that exists, and it's always noisy in that way. I think for practitioners, it is getting the proof from others in their industry that have done it. I think those ROI stories, someone has to be first, and there's a good brave number of people in our industry that are willing to be fully first, and they get the advantage of doing some co-creation, and that's fun. Many others are going to be with companies that have really long data security and and other things that are not going to get to be first. And so I think it is talking to their peers, talking to other practitioners that have been there, and what the experience was on their ROI and how it worked from an implementation perspective. Was that vendor responsive? Did the solution achieve what they wanted it to achieve? And so I think now more than ever, the kind of, I think, unique network that exists among talent acquisition professionals. We've got lots of conferences in this industry, lots of industry groups that we go to, but using those to drive forward, discover the right solutions, get word of mouth in the street is more helpful than ever.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think that is really the thing that people really need to look at very, very carefully. So finally then, let's talk about 2026. So we talked about a few things that are kind of the direction of travel and things like that, but just give us some kind of predictions that we can sort of look back on. What do you think is going to happen in 2026?
Yeah. Well, I think a few things. So I think one is AI adoption becomes absolutely mainstream in talent acquisition. I think it becomes one where almost every talent acquisition department is using AI in one form or another. And one of the questions I get asked really regularly is, where do I start? And my answer is two parts to it. One is start where it hurts. If you have some particular pain points that's in your process, like, yes, start there. If you don't know what hurts, start with interview scheduling. It's just like a really clear one that the AI tools are really good at. Clear ROI, an almost guaranteed win, and you get the right to do the next project. And so that's. But I think just the ubiquity of talent acquisition, AI is number one. I think number two, I think there will be viable AI apply solutions in the market that create a change in the market for systems, where early adopters to an MCP based apply system is going to matter and give at least a temporary competitive advantage to some companies that adopt different technology from an apply perspective. But I think there will be potentially a temporary competitive advantage as the consumer market always moves faster than the business software market. And so as the AI apply tools hit critical mass, that will create some differentiation in the market. And then maybe third is I think we'll see a substantive counterwave of AI, where I think there will be full companies that hit the news wire saying that they are doing only in-person interviews interviews. I think we'll probably see some service, if it's a WeWork-like service or something, offer like AI rooms that are AI-free rooms for interviews, so that you can't use that to cheat on a coding test or to have an AI avatar, those kinds of things. But there'll be a service that is sort of this what do you call it? A gap room, air gap room, something like that for an interview. But just this countercurrent, I think will matter and maybe the last is the obvious overarching, which is it will continue to be chaotic. So we'll see both the advances of AI and the pullback in some high profile news stories of folks that are trying to reconcile the use of AI and aren't sure how to do it, and so go to the no AI interviews in certain ways. But the technology advance is inevitable, and so it will be pushing forward in lots of different ways as AI becomes really ubiquitous in talent acquisition. And what a time to be alive in this agentic era, right? Like it's a lot of fun for the nerds that really love it. We're having a good time.
It's just kind of amazing everything that's happening. Adam, thank you very much for talking to me.
Matt, great to see you as always. Talk to you next year.
My thanks to Adam. You can follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can search all the past episodes at recruitingfuture.com. On that site, you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter, Recruiting Future Feast, and get the inside track on everything that's coming up on the show. Thanks very much for listening. I'll be back next time, and I hope you'll join me.
This is my show.